So, the subject that I wanted to cover today is about travel. And more specifically, I want to talk about traveling alone. So, a few days ago, I talked to an old friend on the phone and I discussed with him a recent little mini vacation that I had taken. And he said, "Who'd you go with?" And I said, just me, just alone. He's like, "Oh, that's crazy. You went alone?" I'm like, "Yeah, I went alone." Like, wow, wow, you went alone way out there. It's just funny. People act like in order to go do something or to enjoy something that they need to have somebody with them. And I just want to dispel this myth, and I want to talk about a lot of the reasons why it's good to travel alone, and maybe even preferable in a lot of situations. And especially I want to stress that if you're not willing to travel alone, you're likely missing out on some adventures. So, first of all, when you're traveling with other people, you need to get on the same page with others that want to do the same thing that you want to do. Now, this may not always be the case. You may not have anyone that wants to visit the place that you want to visit. Even if they do want to visit the place you want to visit, they may not want to do the things there that you want to do or on the schedule that you want to do them, right? So there are places where you may have the opportunity to go and see, and you may never, ever see them at all if you wait for somebody else to commit to go with you. There are other reasons why waiting will screw you also. If someone is a flake and someone has, committed to go with you and then they back out of it when you've already made plans and already set aside vacation days or whatever, well, now you're left with a choice. And a lot of people will cancel their vacation also, right? Or, or something like that. When if you just commit to go, I'm going to go and see what I want to see and do what I want to do. And if other people cancel, then I'm going anyway. You'll feel a lot better, right? And you'll know that you'll get to go and see those things. So people act afraid of traveling alone as well. And that's another thing. People act like, I'm a man and I'm in good shape, but no matter who you are on this world, I understand why someone that is older or, a female or like an older female, maybe they feel more vulnerable, and in a way they are. However, if you really study where you're going and take the necessary precautions, you can mitigate the risk, right? So if you know where you're going and you're not going to dangerous places and you're not doing things that are dangerous, it's really not that dangerous no matter who you are. So I would say don't let that hold you back either. It's really just fear that is in your head, and I don't care how tough or capable you are. If you go and put yourself in danger, enough, it'll be a dangerous place for you, So if you're not putting yourself in danger, you're not going to the parts of the city, and every city has places that you shouldn't probably go at night as a tourist. If you're not doing that, then you can be pretty safe, right? So I feel people let others hold them back in this way. So they're either waiting for someone to go with them, and that person may not want to go. So if you're doing that, then you may never get to go, where you want to go. And there's people that have kind of done this to me, like they want to go somewhere and I don't want to go there. And, I'll say that, that's not a place that interests me. And there's people that are always trying to get me to go somewhere. Let's go over here. Let's go. Come on, we should go over here. And I'm like, I don't want to go, but it would be in their best interest to just go alone, because I don't want to go with them. And if they're waiting for that to happen, then they're not going to get to see what they want to see, right? Other times, there's the financial aspect of it, So I'm in a better financial situation than a lot of the friends I grew up with, right? And so they they can't go with me, right? So if you're, you could be in a situation where you are able to go on vacations and see cool places, but some of your friends, or maybe all of your friends, aren't in that situation. So what are you going to do now? Are you just going to decide to just rest and just wait, or maybe even just do things that they are willing and able to do and not do the things you really want to? Like, I got a bunch of friends that say that they're just content to basically sit on their patio and drink beer and barbecue and hang out in their garage and listen to music, and they don't want to go anywhere. And the reality is they can't go anywhere because they don't have the money, and they're married and they're not allowed to go unless they go with their wife. Now, are you going to let people like that hold you back from doing what you really want to do? And are you just going to conform to what they want to do and just sit there, with a Bud Light in your hand, for another weekend in a row, sitting there, waiting for the barbecue to finish up, when you know that you could be off on some foreign land having the time of your life? I know I sure am not. So, and I just would suggest, look at your life and see if you're doing this. If you are limiting yourself just based on other people's desires and other people's abilities, that is an issue too, right? So other people, they don't go and travel alone because they're waiting for people to go with them that don't want to go or can't afford to go, or can't go because they have other obligations like their family, right? So don't wait for that. And if people are flaking out on you, stop making plans with them and just go on your own, or make plans with them and prepare for them to flake. For me, I just put it back in their court, I should say. I have a friend that he's always talking about, he has family in Mexico, and he always says, hey, let's go on a trip. And he's a guy that, I don't really talk to him much anymore because of a lot of reasons, but this is one of them. But there's like a 10% chance that he'll actually do the shit he says he's going to do. So his word to me is basically worth less than shit, and he has no integrity. So when he says, oh yeah, we're going to go and do this, let's plan on doing this, he'll even say, a when, but he'll back out and he'll flake out every time, and he'll always have some excuse, right? So for him, I just put the ball back in his court. I say, all right, let me know when we're all ready to go, and I can get the time off anytime. Just let me know when we're going, and he'll never come up with everything we need to go. So I just put it back on him, and he actually stopped talking about the whole Mexico thing after a while, because I basically called him on it that he was bullshitting. He can't go to Mexico. He's just saying that. And does he really want to? Well, probably not. So don't wait for flakes. Either cut them out of your life like I have done, or just know that they probably aren't going to go, and do the plans that you're saying and just prepare to go alone anyway. So not only are there some reasons why you should just end up going alone, but there's actually some reasons why traveling alone can be better, and it can really be a great experience. It's not just something that is bearable if no one else will go with you. There's actually some real benefits to traveling alone. So one of them is that you're going to set the agenda, the things that you want to see and do, and when and where you want to see them, and where you want to stay, and how long, and where you're going to eat. All of that stuff, that's up to you. You do not have to go to, a certain restaurant because someone doesn't like this or that. You don't have to go see and do things that you really don't care about. You don't have to put up with anyone's character defects or issues. You get to do your own thing on your own time. And if you're like me, where you have a work where you're constantly surrounded with people and talking with people, and it can be draining, that solitude can be super refreshing as well, right? So you are setting the agenda of where you want to go. And that's one of the reasons why I think marriage can be very difficult or next to impossible, or definitely a big sham for a lot of people, is because you're tied to one person that only has a small list of things that you share in common. None of us has everything in common with any other person, right? So no matter how cool of a person you're gonna go on a vacation with, there are things that you're not gonna have in common. And so when you're going alone, you can do your own thing. And kind of I guess what would you call it, a little variation of going alone is if you meet up with someone and do something that you have in common, and then go your own way and go do your own thing for the rest of the time. That is a way where you can kind of do both, right? So for example, if I were going down to Mexico and I had a friend that just wanted to come down for a day, that would be totally cool, right? But there's friends where I would not want to go with them for the whole week, because there's some of these dependent people that won't go on vacation alone, right? And they expect me to hold their hand and hang out with them all day, and I don't want to. And I would start feeling really irritated and smothered, right? So that variation is a pretty cool one too, if you can pull it off. So another reason why going alone on a vacation can be good is it forces you to interact with the locals. It forces you to interact and understand the culture and understand the place better. Now, if you notice when you see people going out in groups, a lot of people, they're talking with each other, they're interacting with each other. And a lot of times the waiters and the service staff will approach them in a different way. They'll a lot of times leave them alone so they can get back to talking with each other. It's amazing if you really notice that, probably in your own life, and if you observe others, that when people go on vacation together or as a group, a lot of times they hardly even interact with anybody at the place unless they're ordering a drink or something. So even though they're there, they're not interacting with everybody that much a lot of the time. Now, of course, there are people that do not operate or vacation this way and have totally interesting local experiences as a couple or as a group. But I say a lot of people, if you really look at their behavior, when they're going out on a group trip, they're not interacting with the people as much. It's just the nature of humans, I guess. But when you're alone, unless you're not a super introverted person that has a really hard time talking to anyone and is really prone to loneliness. And I would say, as just a little aside, if you are that kind of person, it might be better to focus on your issues before you travel alone, or you might just travel alone and push yourself in this way. But if you're not that kind of person, what you can do is, when you are out, you intentionally make it a point to interact with the locals, and you'll find that the bartenders and everyone else will talk to you more, and they'll wonder why you're doing what you're doing and why you're there, and you can tell them their story, and they'll recommend local places for you, and you can make friends, and then you can build a network from the ground up. And for example, I went on a vacation last year to this town in Mexico, and I stayed at this Airbnb. Well, at the Airbnb, the couple that was running it were these really cool people that had a lot of connections in the local area. And I told them that I wanted to get off the beaten path and I wanted to experience a lot of local things. Well, they wrote me a whole list of places to go, restaurants and little towns. And these were places that were run by local people, a lot of places that the tourists didn't know much about, and a lot of them were run by their friends and people that they had known for 30 and 40 years. And then they introduced me to a taxi driver that they had known for over 20 years. Well, me and him hit it off and became friends right away. He was just, I just got along with him real good, and he drove me to all these places and showed me some more places, and I basically made him my own private tour guide. and introduced me to friends of his. And he introduced me to some Americans that were living down there. They had lived down there a long time. I got their numbers, ended up hanging out their house for days. And, I still talk to these guys, on a regular basis. We WhatsApp each other and stuff, and I'd like to come back there and see them again and meet more people down there. I have a little bit of a network. I have a little bit of a foothold in the local community, and, I did that. One thing I did that helped was staying at an Airbnb in a local neighborhood and specifically talking with the people and telling them the kind of experience I wanted to have. But, being alone helped me, to really put myself out there and meet all these new people, right? And would I have had that if I went with someone else? Well, I don't know. They'd really have to be on the same page as me, and most people aren't on the same page with you. So when you travel alone, you learn a lot about yourself when you have time for reflection, and it forces you to be more resourceful because shit happens when you're traveling and you have to figure it out. And I'd also add, if you really want to be one of these, hardcore travelers, like there's a few that have YouTube channels that have traveled the world. All of them are alone, except for a couple, there's a few couples, but most of the ones I see are alone because who wants to travel that much, and they want to go and they want to see their stuff. And the option really is you either go and you are up for being alone, or you don't go. So that is my take on traveling alone. I think it is a very good idea. I think that people should definitely do it, and I don't think it's something to be afraid of. And I just think it does kind of piss me off a little bit when people have this attitude of, oh, wow, I can't believe you go alone. Like, dude, come on, bro. Do you need someone to hold your hand? Are you not able to function in the world without having somebody joined at your hip? Come on. You can go places alone and you can have a good time, So that is the subject for today. And, I welcome all comments. Agree, disagree, please put them below. Thank you.